But I can match your energy real fast.
Yeah.
And that doesn't usually help if you're like in situations where you might be the one who's more worked up about something. If I come back with that same intensity, typically it's going to escalate. If I can come and really listen to you and listen to what you're saying and hear where it's coming from, we can actually get to a place of starting to resolve conflict instead of escalate conflict.
Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fully Alive podcast with Michael and Megan Brusicky. My name is Michael.
And I'm Megan.
And we love to take some time. We do this podcast to really try to help you live fully alive. One of the things that we focus on in our life and personally as we lead our church is how can we, in all of the chaos of life, learn to still step into what Jesus has for us and live fully alive. And so today we're going to talk about fighting with your spouse, fighting fair and pursuing your spouse, something that I know is important for all of us. And we'll start with something that might make us fight or something that's just kind of funny. Would you rather smell like garlic or cheese?
Garlic, for sure.
Yeah.
I'd much rather smell like I came out of an Italian restaurant.
What about Italian cheese?
Well, I don't like cheese, so.
Let's.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
I don't really know. I think it just depends on cheese. I don't know that
This one could really start a fight. Would you rather be 1 hour early or 15 minutes late?
I mean, I would 100% always rather be 1 hour early. How about you?
Well, it's a complicated question. I think I would rather always be 1 hour early, but I'm usually 15 minutes late.
So the question, what's interesting about this then, though, is what we say is that actions reveal beliefs. So
do they also reveal that I have a bunch of kids who don't get ready on time?
So are you saying that it's the kids' fault?
No,
I just want to understand.
not saying that.
Yeah.
You're right. Thanks for the therapy session. All right.
I think you do a great. I think you do a great job. Everything you do is perfect.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about marriage. Let's talk about the perfect marriage. I have a question. When you talk to people who are about to get married and they say we never fight, what are the things that go through your mind?
You aren't being yourself. You're not being honest with how you really feel. That there's another layer of intimacy that you're not experiencing because we cannot be vulnerable. We can't be in close relationship with anyone and not have conflict. If we are, I believe if we are not having any amount of conflict, then we're not being honest.
Yeah, because we're different people.
We're different people. We all
Right.
we all have desires. We are all selfish. I mean, two different people coming together to create a life together. Like, you came from different backgrounds. You have different expectations. You have different experiences. And if we're not having any conflict, that means we're not being open and honest about our expectations
Right.
or unmet expectations or.
Right. I think when people say that they don't fight, I'm with you. I wonder what you talk about. I wonder if there's no passion. I think that it's true. Every person, just like in every marriage, there's different people are more emotional or less
Right.
emotional. So we're both emotional people. So therefore, that helps us. Maybe at times, I suppose there's people who, just in general, in their natural personality, aren't as emotional. So I think that could be a factor at times.
Well, and I also think it's what do we mean by fight?
What do
You
you
know?
mean by fight? We get to define it. So
Well,
it's our
I
podcast.
think when you say we don't fight, people may say, like, we don't have, like, blowout fights. We don't yell at each other. Like, if you have an expectation that fighting is something very, like, we're not talking to each other or,
Right.
Whatever your expectation or whatever your idea of what fighting means.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think that that's what that has to mean. Fighting is just conflict.
I think that it's important to recognize, and you just said that fighting is conflict. I think it's important to recognize that avoiding conflict, trying to avoid conflict in your marriage is actually really dangerous.
Yeah. It'll come up eventually.
And you see it modeled. I think that all of us grew up at least most of us, I should say, grew up and seeing that, whether it was our parents or another adult couple in our life, we probably saw one of two things modeled, more or less: more fighting or not any fighting. And I think that you can go into a marriage then expecting it's going to look like one of those two
Right.
things, which then you put expectations in your marriage based on the things you learned. And so I think in order to actually have conflict right, you need to make sure you know what is actually in the other person.
Right. Well, and I think it's good for us to have an expectation that conflict is normal.
Yes.
Like conflict is a normal part of relationship. I remember several years ago having a conversation with a woman, and her husband were maybe 5 years into their marriage, and they were having a very large conflict. And they figured out that her husband was like, he was almost like, oh my gosh, this marriage is over, because his expectation, like, he didn't see his parents have conflict. They had conflict behind closed doors, which I'm not saying fight in front of your kids, but his expectation was that a good marriage, there's no conflict.
Right.
So either they were avoiding conflict or they were only having conflict away from the kids. And so when his marriage hit conflict, it was like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. We can't do this. And we need to have a healthy expectation that conflict is a part of a healthy marriage.
Yeah. And I think
conflict resolution.
conflict
is part of that.
resolution. Yeah. I think if I tie this into, and don't have to talk about this long, but if you think about this, so from a Christian perspective, if you think about grief, one of the things that we try to avoid as humans is grief at all cost. And even in the context of the way I watch the Christians live out their faith is, if we are grieving, it's almost like something's wrong. If we are grieving, it's almost like, well, I guess we just aren't counting on God enough, or the Holy Spirit's not working in us enough. And no, the human condition, the human reality is that there's loss, there's going to be grief.
Right.
I think that conflict and disagreements and what would lead to at times a fight in marriage is because we're human, and it is necessary in order to be who we actually are, and not try to just be the other person. And so I think it's really healthy. And I think that if it's going to exist, then you need to learn how to do it well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've been doing this for a couple decades. What would be some of the things you would say, hey, here's what I think we do well in conflict,
we do well.
in fighting?
Well, I think
Fair.
we've had to learn. I mean, we've
we're
really
still learning.
had to learn, and we are still working at learning how to have conflict and have it in a healthy way. I think one of the kind of most important things in marriage is recognizing that usually the conflict is not about what the conflict is about.
So true.
Like whatever.
The thing is not the thing.
The thing is not the thing. Whatever the surface level thing that we're fighting about, dishes, picking up the kids, you didn't call
Do
me.
we fight about
I don't
those
know.
things?
I'm just thinking about like
life.
things that
Yeah.
people get upset about.
Yeah.
You know, how you spend your time, how whatever it is that causes conflict in a marriage. Usually, that's not really the thing. There's an underlying need or desire that's not being met. You know, whether
Right.
that's my need to feel seen and feel supported,
Right.
feel loved, feel respected. You know, wanting to be right, wanting to be in control, all of these underlying desires that we have that maybe we don't even know that they have, but the conflict in a relationship reveals those things. And so I think it's wise to look beyond the thing.
I agree. A couple things that are really helpful. Unmet expectations come from unstated expectations. And so we function so much better when we make sure that we state expectations up front. We've been married 21 and a half years. Is that right? And we still need to state expectations.
Oh my gosh. I know. I don't know.
Like, it doesn't
I mean,
change.
I think that all of us were like, well, you should just know what I want from you.
Right.
You know, you should know what would make me happy. You should know how I want you to serve our family or serve me, or, you know, you should know that I want you to help with this thing or pick up the kids or whatever. And we don't know those things.
Right.
If we don't tell each other those things.
So I just think that for anybody that's watching or listening, I just would say, make sure that you guys husband and wife, you tell each other, this is my expectation. Now, the other side of that.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah.
I think too.
Whatever you
we
wanna
don't-
say.
No, I think regarding expectations, a lot of times in in marriage, I think it comes to head sometimes when you have kids and life gets busy or your jobs get busy, your schedules start getting really full. You realize that you had expectations of your spouse that you didn't even know you had.
Right.
Like, I just assumed you were going to handle that.
Right.
And you're like, I just assumed you were going to handle that. And a lot of that is based on what we saw our parents do. And we both have very different childhoods and different experiences with parents. And so some of those things that I realized I was irritated you weren't doing, like they weren't on your list of things that you thought you needed to be doing, you know?
And I think, yes, that's so true.
So I just
we
think
have to
we
state the
have
expectations,
even if we say we don't.
Yes, we do. And I think, I just feel to mention this. I think one of the things that I've grown in, I think that any marriage would grow in, is those expectations need to come from a place of humility. I think it's in Philippians 2 where he says, where he talks about humility, and he says, now I can't remember the exact word for word, but it's like, treat, oh my goodness. Let me see if I got my Bible open. Rather in humility, here it is. Rather in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking out for your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. So our expectations of each other need to also take into account the other person, their emotion, their personality, their needs, not just, hey, I want you to know these are the expectations that you need to fill for me.
Yeah.
I communicated it. You didn't do it. Therefore, I have the right to be mad at you because you didn't fulfill the expectations that I communicated to you. And
sometimes our expectations are like unrealistic.
They're unrealistic.
Yeah.
And then if you love is not the right word. If you're humble towards your spouse, then you're going to be like, oh, well, my what I need isn't more important than what you need. Let's talk about what you feel. And I think that's something we've grown in a lot. And I don't think we've perfected it because I'm still selfish at my core. I'm not saying that you are selfish at your core.
I think humans are selfish at our core.
But I see that certainly getting better.
Yeah.
What do you want to go to next? What do you want to talk about?
I think another thing, probably one of the other biggest things I think in learning to fight fair is recognizing that you're not my enemy. It's not me against you.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to win this fight. When I start thinking that I'm winning or that I want to win, that's probably a pretty good indication that our marriage is losing.
Yeah. That's so good. Say that again if you can, just like that.
If I start to think that I'm winning or I start trying to win, it's a good indication that our marriage is losing.
That is so true.
Enemies. It's not me against you. I don't win and you lose. We win together.
Yeah.
Or we lose together. And probably one of the most important things that when we fight fair, when we fight well, we fight for our marriage, not to be right, to prove my point, to get my way. But I fight for our marriage to be strong. I fight for understanding of where you're coming from. Fight for unity in a decision. I think fighting fair means fighting together.
I think the other part of agree, and I think that an important aspect of fighting fair and being able to be unified is to be able to do that without being enmeshed. And what I mean when I say that, I know that what has helped us fight fair is if one of us is the one who's a little bit more worked up than the other one in the moment, is that we don't match emotion. But that just because you're all worked up, I'm not going to get all worked up. The only way this fight's going to actually stay fair is if I wasn't worked up, so I'm going to stay calm. When it's the other way, you weren't worked up, so you're going to stay calm, and we're going to try to talk about it. But if one of us is truly being unreasonable in the moment, then right now isn't the moment we're going to be able to walk through this. We're going to need to breathe. You're going to need to breathe. I'm going to need to breathe.
A lot of breathing.
Calm this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if you end up getting enmeshed, so that's when, and if that's a new term to anybody, that's when, the other person's emotions, you just get into their emotions. And so whatever it is they're feeling, you just have to feel the same thing. You're just going to act the same way. And when that happens, honestly, you're just a mess is really the only thing that can happen. And you're not going to fight fair because you sort of lose control. Yeah. I've read about it, and there's the things that happened in your brain and what's that flight or fight. there's whatever the
Fight or flight.
scientific term is that's going on in your brain, that takes on. And if you're in that mode, you're not actually seeing that person. You're just, it's a blackout moment,
Yeah.
and you're going to say things. And
I think
it's
the
hurtful.
scripture that's quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to
get
become
angry.
angry is really helpful because if I'm being honest, that is a tendency of mine, is to be quick to respond and match emotion. And we're both spicy people, you know, we can have a lot of emotion. And
Interesting. I would agree you're a spicy person, but you don't like spicy food.
I don't like spicy food, but
Yes,
I'm
anyway.
a spicy person. But I can match your energy real fast.
Yeah.
And that doesn't usually help if you're like in situations where you might be the one who's more worked up about something. If I come back with that same intensity, typically it's going to escalate. You know,
Yeah.
what's a soft answer turns away wrath. Like
Yeah.
if I can come and really listen to you and listen to what you're saying and hear where it's coming from, and I can be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry, and have a gentle answer, we can actually get to a place of starting to resolve conflict instead of escalate conflict.